On today's SL Vodcast, wow, no stone unturned. We are talking the shoe of the season that SJP would be proud to wear.
It comes in baby blue, like ballerina pink, and I think red satin, and they are to die for.
The English Riviera, yes, I said that right.
It turns into a party and everyone's dancing on tables and like napkins. It's so fun.
And The Motherload, Sarah Hoover's amazing book that everybody needs to read.
I want to do something that might empower other women to get to that place where they can feel kind of shame-free about all the hard parts about being a mom and being a girl. So I did it, but I also tried to make it funny.
It's a fab one. Enjoy. Welcome to the SheerLuxe Vodcast. I am your host, Louise Roe, and I'm joined by SL's head of broadcasting, Hodge, that's her real name, and best-selling author, art historian, and cultural critic, Sarah Hoover. I'm very excited about this one.
Thanks for having me.
You've
for that
flown
intro.
all the way in from Manhattan.
That's right, just for you.
Chic. We're chatting about everything as usual, and who knows where we're going to go, but we're also going to delve into your book, which is amazing. It goes there. Right?
I tried.
And we're going to be answering some of your dilemmas, guys. Before we kick off, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel for weekly updates. It helps us out. All right, let's first begin with the outfits. Outrageous.
The
This jacket.
cleavage display.
Well, no. I mean, your boobies always look great, but like, what is this jacket?
It's from H&M.
No way.
I know. £59.99.
The look for less. How did you find that?
It's so good. H&M is so good this season, I must say. The shoulders are big and the sleeves are good. And normally I wear it with nothing underneath, but I felt for work I should be a bit more professional. So I've got a white vest on, which is also great from Zara, which is a body. I love a body vest because it sucks everything in. Jeans are Bugassa and my new Gucci.
They're beautiful.
Mules.
Love that colour denim too. Sarah, what are you rocking?
Okay, I'm wearing Chanel knit, which is a splurge, but it's so soft and the buttons are so pretty. And my tank top is Nili Lotan. Do you have that brand
I love
here?
this.
Okay, these are the best tank tops in the world.
Yeah.
They're the same. They kind of hold you in. They're really fitted. They come in a bunch of colors and I like live in them. And my undies are Skims.
She's coming to London.
That's what I read.
Yeah,
What,
big
Kim's?
news. Yeah. Well, Skims.
Oh, Skims.
Opening a big store.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay,
on Regent
it's actually great underwear.
Street. Yeah, I love it.
Say
I've
what
got
you
a
want
Skims
about Kim
bra on.
Kardashian. Look at us.
I've got their swimwear. I feel like that's a
Ooh,
smaller
I've never
part.
tried that.
Oh, no
Brown
way.
bikini.
I love a brown bikini with a tan. That is just the prettiest
Hot,
combination to me. It's so
Yeah.
so elegant.
Shoes, Chanel as well.
They are. I'm like matchy.
Love it.
I really went for it. I just felt like I needed to do a full look.
Well, London appreciates it.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks.
you. I've been trying to wear only British designers here, which is like so
you
easy because you
failed
have. I know, but I really
Yeah.
messed up today.
Yeah.
But you guys have just the coolest designers. So many emerging, interesting ones. I'm like really obsessed with the London fashion scene.
Are there any that you...
Oh, well,
Like-
Connor Ives. I'm obsessed with him. And also this, I don't think she's British, but her brand is based in London, Pauline Dujancourt. I'm obsessed by. I really did my research. I like looked up everyone who shows at London Fashion Week and Googled all of them and tried to figure out like who my people were.
I love this.
I
Thanks for
know.
schooling us.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Note to self.
What about you, honey?
I'm an Australian designer.
I love
Dish.
Australian. Love
Dish
Dish.
with a double S.
So good.
It is a linen suit, chocolate brown, matching sleeveless, long line waistcoat that cinches in at the back with a little bow. And then kind of, I just obsessed with wearing brown. I had a brown trench on as well. And then the sandals are J. McLaughlin. So pretty comfy, but quite me.
You can walk in them.
Comfortable.
Yeah.
Totally. All right, new and noteworthy, where we talk about anything that caught our eye. You've got something, the hut in Colwell Bay.
It's an activity, but it was a friend's birthday at the weekend, and there's this restaurant called The Hut, and it's on the Isle of Wight, which is like our ferry from the mainland.
south, yeah.
Yeah. They do like a really fun lunch. It's like a vibe. It's sort of like going to, I mean, it's not Ibiza or Mykonos, but it is like a fun like lunch spot. Like it's a destination. A friend organised it for his birthday, so it was such a fun day. And you can do it in a day.
Did
So-
you not stay the night?
No, we didn't stay.
Oh my gosh.
So we met at Clapham Junction, hour and 15 minutes to Southampton. Then we got an Uber to the dock, and then he organised a rib, and then you pull up, and then, you know, you get off the rib, and it's supposed to be super glammy. You walk off, and then you walk into the restaurant, and, you know, but in reality, we had to wear a cagoule because we didn't want to get our hair and outfits and faces wet. Plus the life jacket, so we didn't look great.
I bet you wore massive sunglasses though. And
we did
start it out.
And the weather was insane. So you sit and you know, amazing food, and then it turns into a party, and everyone's dancing on tables and like napkins. It's so fun.
How fab.
And then we got the rib back, which was, you know, interesting after all the rosé consumed. And then we got a train back to Clapham Junction.
That's pretty
Easy.
cool.
It's so easy. It's honestly, it's such a fun day. You have to book quite far in advance though. I think he booked it in like February to get the good table. You want to be on the long table on the bottom, not the top deck. You want to be bottom deck.
Oh, not
Noted.
the top deck.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
This is quite a big deal for the UK because I feel like obviously
Yeah.
on the East Coast there are plenty of places you can drive to from New York.
Yeah.
And have a vibe like that. But for us that's quite unusual.
No, I think it's the only place in the UK. I mean, it must be.
Yeah, that's cool.
So honestly, it's such a fun day. Obviously, no children.
Yeah, I was going to say that
children-free
sounds
day.
child-free, which is, you deserve it.
Yeah.
You've also got clip-on earrings by Alona.
Oh yeah, I'm loving these clip-on earrings. They're just so easy. Look, just like that.
And they don't hurt.
And they don't hurt.
Love.
You know, sometimes with earrings, when they get a bit heavy and you've got them on all day, it's just so easy. And it really reminds me of my mum in the 80s answering the phone and taking
Totally
off her
taking
earring.
one off. Yeah.
Oh my God. Wow, major nostalgia moment. Apparently landlines are back. So loads of families are getting them for their young teenagers. And they're such a cool thing to do that it's like, yeah, got ya. Because it's being, you know, presented as you can use this and it's cooler than a cell phone that you're not going to get. So, and they're and they're using them and the numbers.
I know.
I had my own phone line when I was a kid. Like we had one for my parents because we were always on the phone. My sister and I were always,
Oh my God.
you know, we got our own phone number. And I remember I had one of those phones that you could see through. Oh my God. You could see all, like it was clear. Do you remember those? Yeah. It was pretty cool.
Like
I'm not going to lie.
That could have been a scene in Clueless.
Yeah.
I feel like that is just perfection.
I know.
Yeah.
I love that.
I
Can
know
you
I knew
imagine
kids that had their own
Did
line. I
you?
mean, it's kind of genius. Or your parents would just pick up and be like, that's enough. You'd be like, Dad!
Yeah. Don't ruin this for
Embarrassing.
me.
Talking to a boy. God. I was going to ask Sarah, you're new and noteworthy, but you did mention Pauline.
Okay, but I have
Dujancourt.
another one.
Oh.
Okay.
Have you been to Tate Modern to see the Leigh Bowery show? I don't actually know when it opened. Maybe it's not that new. That is the coolest exhibition. If you all are looking for art to see,
Thank you.
we were big fans of it. And it's on for a good long while. But
Did you just go this trip?
we went yesterday and we could have spent way more time in it, but we were kind of crushed for time, but it was still worth it even to
you.
speed through. It was so, it's like
Oh, wow.
fashion. It's all about the 80s and 90s and
Oh,
the
I
club
love-
scene in London.
fun.
And it was like, London is just so fabulous,
Yeah.
you know, and it has been for so long and it was so glamorous. And like, this poor man, I mean, he died in the AIDS crisis, but it was such a great way to like understand that history because it was all about Boy George and dance that he, you know, he was like involved in different people's music videos. And it was just so cool. Big fan.
I'm loving Sarah Hoover's Guide to London on this
Yeah, I know,
podcast.
honey.
I
It
feel
makes me happy
you
I
should
live
host
here.
this. This is amazing.
I'll come back anytime.
I have a couple. There's a brand new. I love Hourglass.
Yeah.
But
So
this,
good.
isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yes.
This is a new, very light foundation called Veil. I feel like calling it a foundation isn't really even doing, you know, it's lighter than that. And I always look for something like this in the summer because you just don't want to have that full coverage.
Yeah.
And I often don't wear anything when I've had a spray tan for sure, actually.
Yeah.
But when you just need a little bit extra, it's very sheer. I'm putting it on my hand now, but it
yeah.
does give.
What does
I
it
think
smell
it takes
like?
a few years off us.
Oh, well,
makeup-y.
give me extra.
Nice.
It
It's
looks a
not
bit
scented.
glowy
No,
as well.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't know if that's you. It's a little vanilla-y. Is that you?
It could be me.
Okay, that's super
Super
That's
glowy.
just her natural.
And then my second thing, which any regular listeners will rewind the clock to about 3 weeks ago, where the other guests told me to watch The Summer I Turned Pretty.
Oh, yes.
Oh, right.
Which is a teen drama.
Oh, my
Yeah.
God.
And
I
are
was
you
like,
addicted?
I am obsessed. Just an update for you guys. Can't watch anything else. They were like, no, it's just happy. It's like Dawson's Creek meets the OC. Set in, I think it's it's not Nantucket. It's supposed to be somewhere.
Maine?
No. Yeah, or maybe it is Nantucket. Anyway,
I think it is, or Martha's Vineyard, like one of those East Coast.
Although obviously I've Googled it, they didn't actually shoot there. But it is so wonderfully popcorny and cute, and I just think that there aren't shows like that anymore because there always has to be a really serious undertone, and I don't want that.
No.
I just want to put the TV on and enjoy it. I haven't got my husband to watch it yet. He's kind of like, no. He's
I don't
still
think that's happening
side-eyeing
for
it.
you.
No,
I've got news for you.
He was like, is this about 13-year-olds? And I was like, she's 15, turning
First of
16.
all,
And she's very pretty. So
I rate it.
do you know what? It's Ava's birthday on my middle daughter's birthday on Sunday. She's 11, and I've bought her the book set as one of her presents. The Summer I Turned Pretty. And my girlfriend, Lou, was like, you can definitely watch it with her.
Oh yeah, for sure, watch it with her. That's so cute.
Like, as in,
I think so.
There are a couple of bits.
A bit.
I mean, a bit for an 11-year-old, maybe.
I mean, she's watched Friends. I did sort of let her watch that.
I'm trying to think if there's anything like sexy in it.
There are a couple of sexy bits, and then they sort of like swear a bit. But I'm sure she's had swear words.
Yeah, she has.
Oh, in that house, I doubt it.
No,
No. You would
Wait.
never. You would never.
This is our must and miss segment. So I told you to pick it up. Tell us everything about the book.
Well, 7 years ago, after the birth of my firstborn child, who was a little boy, I suffered a really long, arduous postpartum depression that lasted a year. I think, like, by the way, the catalyst for it was a pretty traumatic birth, which maybe a lot of other moms can relate to. When I finally recovered, which was its own long process, I was like, I need to write the book that I wished I had had when I was going through it. And during COVID, I was looking back at the journals that I kept in that year, and I was like, oh, I was crazy. So I was like, I'm going to turn this into an essay or something. And I started writing, and I just literally could not stop. And the next thing I knew, I had like 130,000 words, which is a book. I was like, I want to do something that might empower other women to get to that place where they can feel kind of shame-free about all the hard parts about being a mom and being a girl. So I did it, but I also tried to make it funny. I swear.
It is very funny.
Thank you.
It's very funny.
I was going to ask, was it cathartic to write it and finish it? People also give advice for people to journal as a sort of form of therapy.
Yeah.
Did the journaling feel cathartic?
Absolutely.
As well?
Journaling's like the most cathartic,
Yeah.
I love journaling. It's a huge part of my like mental health self-care.
Yeah.
I think it's really important. But the writing of it was less cathartic because I'd been in so much therapy. I had processed all the things that had brought me to that place. But you know what I felt was a real sense of relief because it had done so much for me in my life to kind of lift that veil of shame. And I was like, I get to share, this is my life hack. For years, I made myself silent and I made myself small because I was embarrassed of a million things, from how I look to how I let men treat me to how I parented to how I connected with the idea of being a mom, etc. And the minute I got rid of all that, I just felt so much lighter. And I was like, I'm so relieved that I get to share this with other women. Like, that's a gift, you know?
As a result, have you had incredible feedback from the people who have read it? Like,
Yes.
what's that been like?
Well, I've been on tour. My book came out in the States in January. So I was on a book tour for the last few months, and I've been in a bunch of different American cities and meeting with hundreds of women. And the resounding feedback that I get from women, especially from mothers, is they feel like pretty disappointed with how culture values them. And they have a lot to talk about. They have a lot of trauma that's happened to them. Everyone has a birth story. I'm like the repository of everyone's birth stories. I know thousands of them. And I hear, again, relief from women who feel like they're finally being seen for this thing that's pretty universal. You know, if you're a mom, like, there's something about it for you that isn't easy, whether it's conceiving, your pregnancy, your birth, the aftermath. No one remains unscathed by one aspect of mothering, you know, whatever it is. And so I think people feel like finally sort of acknowledged for what they've been through. And it's been really cool to connect with women and to realize how much we all have in common, even if our stories are really different.
I feel like sharing knowledge is power, isn't it?
Totally.
I feel like that in sort of every aspect of my life. And I feel like the older I get, the more I realize the more you talk and are an open book with people, then you get what you need from them back.
I think you go into it thinking, oh my gosh, these experiences I've had where I felt so lonely and alone, I have to shoulder on by myself because surely no one else has ever been in my position. And the more you share, the more you realize your loneliest moment is pretty identical to 1,000 other women's loneliest moment. And the minute you open up and share with them, they're so happy to share with you in return. And it's such a moment of connection.
Yeah, completely. I remember because we lived in Singapore when we were trying for our first child, and it was a journey. We had like 3 miscarriages. All of my girlfriends were getting pregnant at that time, and it was so hard. And I went through a phase of like not wanting to see anyone, and it's such a small community. People knew when I was ovulating, and any good news?
Oh, that's so much pressure.
It was so much pressure, and I really like went into myself and sort of was a bit angry. Like, why me? Why is this happening to me? It's not fair. As my sort of friends were parading their amazing bumps, and I was happy for them,
right.
But then I was also like jealous.
Yeah, it can be both.
So it was a really hard time, and we laugh about it now. How I'd have like moments of rage with them, and they'd be like, "Oh my god." But then I sort of realized that the more I spoke about it, the more you hear about other stories, and if you listen, well, if you've spoken to that doctor, or if you tried this, and actually. That's what ended up, I think, getting me into a good headspace and, having a successful pregnancy because of sort of talking to friends and getting more knowledge and shared experience.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like as women, we're so trained to be polite and not be an imposition on anyone. And
I'm so sorry.
Right. And I mean, you Brits are really good at this.
I know.
You're especially good at it.
I know.
But you have to kind of push yourself out of your comfort zone sometimes to feel okay with the idea that like women deserve to complain and to own their story and to share their story. And that's an important part of finding your path to healing in the world. But it goes against the grain of everything we've been trained culturally,
Yes.
It's like a hard thing to do on your own.
It's really interesting because you've mentioned the word culture a couple of times. And actually, when I gave birth, I've got 2 daughters. And I remember we were living in the US, and I've always been self-employed. So, taking maternity leave is sort of a different issue. But I remember on Instagram at the time being like, where's everyone from and how much maternity leave do you guys get? And I had hundreds of comments from different people in different countries, and it varies wildly from literally like, well, we don't actually technically get any, or a couple of weeks, to 2 years in, I think, certain parts of Scandinavia. And you can also swap that with grandparents. So if you wanted to say, give your grandparents 3 months of it,
right.
You can. Incredible. Again, I'm always flying to Scandinavia.
Wow,
I think they nail life.
there.
When are we moving that? But, I know. But it's very interesting how, for example, in Indonesia, a new mother is mollycoddled. Like there are certain spa treatments that don't even exist. And even in China, like they sort of look after the new mother as the new baby. So I think for 30 days
you don't leave the house.
You don't leave the house. You have everything brought to you and all the nourishing meals. And so you were mentioning about like mums not always being revered in that way. And there are other cultures that do.
They do such a better job of it.
It's very interesting, isn't it, when you sort of start to look outside of the country that you may live in and how other cultures approach it. Equally, I think different generations. I'm curious if you've had like older women come to your book tour where really didn't talk about things.
I've had actually like some of the saddest experiences have been talking to women in their 70s or maybe older. But I had one woman in particular who told me, she came up to me, she said, I'm in my 70s and I had my kids in my 20s, so 50 whatever years. And I didn't realize until I read your book that after I had my firstborn, I could not connect with him at all. Looking back, knowing what I know now from reading this, I had postpartum depression, but we didn't have those words. My girlfriends didn't talk about it. They didn't talk about their own experiences. And I have suffered for 50 years. I've never been in therapy. I've never even known that this was a problem that you could therapize. And because of it, I was never able to connect with my son, who's now a grown-up. And we don't really have a relationship. And I was like, that's the ultimate tragedy of womanhood, is to go through all of that and not be able to connect, right? And like, it's totally unacceptable. But America, of course, follows last in the developed world for maternal health in pretty much every metric. So I know it's worse there than it is here, but it's right what you're saying, to look to those countries, particularly I think Asian countries do it really well, just culturally throughout history. They've learned that happy mothers produce happy children who are great members of society who can be productive.
Yeah.
Even if it's only for economic reasons.
Yes.
It's really important
Yes.
to treat mothers well.
Whatever
you know?
your goal is, even happy hubbies if there's a husband at home too.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
everyone's a winner.
Exactly. Hello.
Maternal power is happy.
I know.
Gosh, nearly made me cry, that story. It's crazy, isn't
And
it?
your mum realised that she'd suffered from it.
Yes.
Was that sort of after you'd been through it, or whilst you were sort of joining the dots for the book?
She, I think from hearing me talk about it as I was getting my mental health together, was like realizing some of the similarities between what I experienced and what she had. And towards the end of the writing process, we went out to eat one night and she was like, you know, I think I had postpartum depression too. And it really impacted how I was able to mother you. And a lot of my book is about my relationship to my mom, because I'm sure you both can agree, the minute you have a kid, girl, boy, whatever, you suddenly...
Realize.
Yes, you're like, wow, my mom worked so hard to make me. And life is so fragile. And she had this worry and this burden on her. And it becomes so clear why they do so many things that they do,
Yeah,
right?
completely.
And I also, like, my mom worked outside of the home always. And she had a really big career that was really important to her. And this was in the 90s in Indiana, which is in the middle of America. It's culturally more provincial than a lot of the bigger cities and the coastal cities. And she was kind of an anomaly among her friend group. She was one of the only moms I remember who worked outside of the home. And I remember interpreting that as her not loving being my mother. But I look back and I think I have so much empathy for her, because I'm like, she was actually doing this thing that was really hard. She was choosing to not be like everyone else. And women deserve to have full identities. They deserve to be able to work just like any father gets to do outside of the home, and not feel like that makes them a bad mom, right? She deserves to indulge that side of herself. And I spent so many years of my childhood being like, you know, resentful or angry with her, not understanding her. And now I get to look back with the perspective that I've built through writing this book and understand that she had her own stuff going on. She had her own trauma. She had her own difficulties, and that impacted how she parented. But it's put our whole relationship in a different light for me, which is
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. Obviously, you finished the book and it's cathartic, but it doesn't mean like life is plain sailing. From then on.
Unfortunately not.
So,
Yeah.
And you now have 2 children.
That's right.
So
Yes.
what are the ways in which you, I hasten, I don't want to use the word balance because it's like there is no balance, but how do you kind of keep your mental health in the best place and just kind of, again, don't want to use the word juggle, but live to the best?
I don't even know how to juggle.
And
Okay.
protect yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, journaling is really important to me. I do it first thing every morning. If there's this amazing book called The Artist's Way. Have you all heard of that?
Yes, actually.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's been around for like 40 years or something. But a big tenet of it is to do what the author calls morning pages, where you write in your journal every morning. Everyone should do that book. It's so
How long
cool.
do you
It's a
journal
workbook.
for?
Honestly, it can be 4 minutes. If
Okay,
I'm running
'cause I was
late,
gonna-
it can be...
the reality of like one kid like squealing. And,
Obviously,
you know,
yeah. And there are days that it's impossible and whatever.
Okay.
And like, you got to give yourself grace on that. But trying to develop that habit,
What do you say?
anything you want. It can literally be like, it's sunny today and
I
here's
am
my
tired.
to-do list. Or
Yeah.
it can be, oh my God, I got in a fight with my husband. And it's, you know, I have found that the more you give to it, the more it returns to you.
Okay.
And I don't know, no one, I hope, will ever read what I say. So it's not like I try and be profound or sound fancy or
Yeah.
anything
yeah,
like
you
that.
can't write it thinking
know.
someone's going to discover this one day.
Yeah, exactly.
I definitely, like when I like had a phase of writing a diary as a teenager, like, but in my head, I was thinking somebody's going to read this and they're going to make it into a movie. So I need to be my best self.
Yeah, you're like using a dictionary. Yeah. You don't do that in morning pages.
No, not that.
But just having somewhere where you is a safe space for you to say how you're really feeling about things, something about putting it on paper, I find really helpful. Also, I have a therapist. There have been times in my life where I've had multiple therapists at once. I love therapy. It feels so indulgent and fabulous to be able to talk about myself for a full hour. Also, my therapist is incredible. She looks like Dame Judi Dench and sounds like her.
Oh, I love
Same
that.
accent.
Sure, it's not.
You know what? I've never seen them in the same room. So,
I would talk to her. for
right?
therapy.
I'll tell her
But I think I try and be
anything.
my best self again, so I want to be true.
Stay proper. Yeah, but all that's really important. And at the end of the day, like in my postpartum depression struggle, I went on antidepressants, which I had a huge stigma against.
You
SSRIs.
had a stigma.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I was like terrified to go on them. I thought it would change my personality.
Yeah.
It would make me different. I thought it was an admission of giving up. Like I couldn't fix myself. I thought it was more proof that I was bad at being a woman, that I needed them.
Yeah.
And I'm not on them now. I've been on and off of them over the course of 7 years for different reasons, but they saved my life. I wanted to end my life when I had postpartum depression. And the only thing that helped, that opened the door and showed me there was a crack of light at the end of the tunnel, was going on those pills.
Yeah.
It's not like it fixed my life.
No.
But it gave me the clarity to say, this isn't normal to you. This isn't, you're not fulfilled, you're not happy, you're not feeling joy, and that's not okay, and you deserve to be able to find fulfillment and joy in your life.
Yeah.
And now you have to go do the work, you have to go to therapy, you have to work through your issues. But before I was on them, I couldn't even see a pathway to that. I was so enraged. Rage was a big symptom of my postpartum depression.
Yeah.
And I couldn't see through the rage to see a path to healing. And they helped me find that path. So I'm like a huge advocate for them. And I feel there's so much misinformation about them. And the number one thing is, if you don't like them, you get to quit.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly.
Is humour a big one? My husband's got a big sense of humour, and sometimes that's annoying. But usually, there are moments, especially when there's a newborn and you are on zero sleep, where you could get rage, cry.
Yeah.
He would tend to go the humour route, and sometimes we would both burst out laughing, like slightly deliriously.
Isn't that the best, though?
Yeah.
But I do feel that humour is also a good coping mechanism.
I would say like the most important. You have to laugh.
Yeah.
And you find yourself in the most ridiculous scenarios as a mom, because like there's a scene in my book, I won't get into details, but it involves poop, feces, a diaper change, an uncircumcised penis, and a tea party at Claridge's, you know, a normal combination of things. And you're just like, how is this my life? Like, what is happening here? And being able to like step back and be like, all right, this is objectively hilarious. Is so fun and such a gift. And that's the kind of, well, see, this is the thing. When I had postpartum depression, I couldn't find small joys like that. I couldn't giggle about something silly. I was so in my feelings, hiding behind a mask of rage and shame. And it took coming out of that for me to be able to be funny, but it's the best thing ever.
Objectively is so the word, because it's like, if I took myself out of this, if I was uninvolved, could this be funny?
Yeah.
And you're right, you can't always have that perspective when you're utterly exhausted or feeling depression.
Yeah.
But if you're able to be like, oh lol, in a year, 2 years, would
Yeah.
this
We're gonna
be
laugh
funny?
at this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
we'll look back one day.
Hopefully, yes.
I wanted to sort of touch on how no one got it. Like
no one knew that I had postpartum?
And that you were suicidal.
Thank you for asking that, because that was a big thing for me. I lied to everyone.
Yeah.
I could have won a BAFTA in that year after I had my kid, because I wanted people to think, oh my God, she's a perfect mommy. She's so good at being a girl. But also I kept saying to myself, fake it till you make it. If you play along and you play perfect mommy and you pretend you're enjoying this and you pretend that you feel connection to this kid, eventually you'll get there and you'll be so glad you didn't tell anyone your horrible truth.
Yeah, because you feel you'll be judged.
I was judging myself. I felt like a monster.
Yeah.
I had this super traumatic birth where I was totally like terrified and disassociated, and they handed me my baby and I didn't love him. And everyone had said, the moment they hand you that baby, it's all worth it. Your birth can be as painful, scary as possible, but when you get that baby, your heart explodes.
It's the worst thing to say.
I know,
'cause
it's such
so
pressure.
much expectation of that moment.
I think a lot of women feel exactly like me. They get the baby and they're like, this is a stranger. Now, I've had 2 babies, right? So in my second birth, which was like a beautiful, magical, spiritual birth that they, doulas tell you is possible, I had that birth and they handed me that baby and it happened.
Did it?
I got the Disney magic fireworks, but with my first one, I didn't. And I felt like a monster. And I was saying to myself in my head, you're a horrible fit for motherhood. You have no maternal instincts. You're not a good woman. And I immediately was like, but you have to pretend. I remember my doctor visiting me like the day after I had a baby and still in the hospital and saying, how are we feeling? And I had felt so violated by her in my labor. And I had felt it was traumatic for me. And I looked at her all smiles and was like, I'm so happy. When can I get pregnant again? I just faked it.
You just
so
wanted
much.
to
So
be
no one
like
knew.
fit society's norm.
Yes, I was desperate to.
But amazing she didn't clock that you were super anxious during your whole pregnancy, because you said every ultrasound you like wept.
Totally.
Just like tears coming out of your eyes. It's amazing she didn't say, are you feeling okay?
She didn't have the care model that she practiced, didn't emphasize empathy, obviously, or my birth wouldn't have been traumatic, you know? So I don't even think that was like important to her to clock what was going on with
You're
my
with the
mental
mummy.
health.
It's about the baby's
Yeah.
health.
And it should be. Look, babies are freaking miracles.
I know.
It's amazing
And,
that
like,
they
oh,
come out
God.
healthy and
Yeah.
it's incredible. But there is a whole part of the dynamic of how you work with the doctor that I think it's really important to take into consideration the trauma a mother's had in her life. But because if you can't be a happy mom, you can't be a functional mom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't matter if your baby comes out healthy if you're
Yeah.
1 foot out the door. Sorry, it's just so heavy and
No,
serious.
it's
No,
So-
but this is what we're here for.
Okay,
This is
love it.
amazing. And I
Yeah.
think there'll be a huge reaction of people listening. I do feel a little bit like, and now
Yeah.
shoes.
We can do it all.
We can
talk shoes.
And the shoes can make our eyes sparkle just
Yeah.
when we need it. Fashion finds. We've done a fair bit of fashion. I'm all about the summer shoes. We
Yeah.
talked about boat shoes and how much we love those.
Oh, so cute.
Yes.
Yeah.
Have you got a pair?
No, but I used to wear them like when I went to camp when I was a kid.
Yeah,
Sperry.
they're back,
Sperry
honey.
is the brand in the
Sperry?
States. Do you have that here?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can get it here. I don't know who sells Sperry here. Maybe it's just Sperry.
No.
They are the OG, aren't they? And a lot of
Absolutely.
fashion brands are doing them.
I
Yeah.
love when I get to go back to stuff that I wore in my like early teen camp years. That's so fun. Like that just feels right to
I
me.
know.
That's my
Summer
that's
I
my
turned
true
pretty.
self. Yeah. See?
Are you
oh,
inspired?
fingers crossed. This is my summer. Yay.
I know.
I have a couple more quick summer shoe ideas.
Okay.
Rouge, that lovely brand
Oh,
by
I
that
always forget they
incredible,
do
beautiful
shoes.
French girl.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, she's so Jean Damas.
So
She's
chic.
so
Yes,
chic.
thank you. Oh, she's
Oh,
gorgeous.
actually, you kind of have her hair.
Stop.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Merci beaucoup. She does a really beautiful sandal called the Normandy, which is almost like, cane, and it's a chocolate brown cane shoe. And the velvet slipper, the sort of the
Love.
smoking slipper. These are Sveti Stefan, which is a Spanish brand. And I did actually design these.
What?
You
So I'm just
did?
giving a quick self, but they are sort of a lovely burgundy piping, and I wore them all through autumn with a sock.
So
and
cool.
then into,
And also comfortable.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you can wear them anywhere.
But like
Number one.
extra enough. Like you can wear them with the leather trouser.
I mean, totally.
But don't you
A
think they're
velvet
even
slipper.
fabulous like at a wedding with a gown? I think it's so
Yeah.
chic to have that high-low mix. That's
Yes.
my favorite when you wear a flat with a fancy dress.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that girl's got
Yes.
confidence.
I feel like Elle Macpherson is very tall, but like Lauren Santo Domingo, they all do a flat with a gown, and I think
Yeah.
it can be gorgeous.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hodge, you've got a couple of shoes.
I can never say the brand, so don't hate me. A day. I am really into like a barefoot. I like a really simple, not today, these are quite extra, but like a summer
I
sandal.
know. I'm like, I can tell. Tell me more about that.
like, please don't look at my shoes.
Your shoes have jewelry, so I
But they're just a very simple white sandal with a white band across the toe. That's it.
love.
Love. Just so chic. So that price point, I think, is about £300. But Zara are doing such a similar pair, but it's sort of crackled, and they have it in a white, and they have it in a brown suede, and they are so good. Go with everything. You love the brown suede.
Yeah, I was going to say brown suede.
Yeah.
Don't get her excited.
Keeping
She-
this cue card so I can get the links.
Keep it.
Do you have Loeffler Randall
Yes.
here? Okay, they make the most beautiful flats for summer, and they have a pair that are sheer,
Oh
and you
my
can like
God,
kind of
like
see the
it-
toes through it.
Like a mesh.
Yeah.
Yes, like
Yes,
a mesh,
so
and
nice.
it's like baby pink, and I never know how to say this. Moire, like it almost looks like it has water. Moire. I don't know how you say it. Anyway, they're
learning a
so
lot.
beautiful with like a really pretty color pedicure that kind of shows through. That would be that's
is
a great shoe for summer too.
Gorgeous
Yeah.
brand. And Jessie, the founder, who has been on the show,
Yeah.
She has, isn't she
Yeah.
a darling?
Yeah.
she's just so lovely,
Yeah.
so chic.
Yeah.
Such a good
Looks
mom.
half her age.
I know, it's really impressive.
Ridiculous. Yeah, she's amazing. Well, you had a Blahnik Ballerimu.
Oh my gosh, they're so pretty. Okay, it's a ballerina, but it doesn't have a back. It's like a flat mule kind of, and they're satin, and it comes in baby blue, like ballerina pink, and I think red satin, and they are to die for. I'm sure that a satin shoe is impractical, especially satin flat, because I always walk if I'm wearing a flat,
Yeah.
you know? But and they have a little bow on the front, and the toe, it's not too round. It's like a little squared off, so it's a little bit unique. I mean, they're the most beautiful
like
shoe.
a ballet shoe.
Yes. I'm like a point
like
shoe. Exactly.
Yeah, like a point shoe.
I haven't seen them, but it's just giving me like first series of Sex and the City.
Yeah.
The old
Totally.
Carrie.
It's exactly that.
Do you know I once years ago did the Sex and the City tour? It's really no, it was so good. And they would play on the bus the bit. I mean, I was young.
Oh my
But they would
God.
play the clip outside. They were like, "This is the sex shop where Samantha
I
went."
do it.
And then like Sushi Samba when it was like the only
Totally.
location, and she
Yeah.
threw.
Oh my
what did she
God.
say? Dirty martini, dirty bastard.
Oh, that was
And they
good.
were like, "Thank
Listen to
you."
you.
Thanks very
I
much.
would totally do that. And by the way, I have a Cosmo at dinner last night. So I feel like I'm
Yeah.
still in my Sex and the City days. I'm never
Yeah.
giving up on that.
Before we move on, please subscribe to the SheerLuxe Vodcast. If I sing it, makes it more fun. It really helps us and allows us to keep making this fabulous content.
Yeah.
Thanks very much. It does though, guys. Right, product that you can't live without, ride or die. One product. I know we've done a lot of product recommendations, but is there anything?
Okay, well, I can't live without Glossier Lash Lick Mascara.
Is this what you've got on now?
Well, no, I have like eyelashes.
I was going to say, because I want it.
That would be really impressive.
Another shout out to an amazing mascara is Ilia.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
love.
they do the most amazing mascara. For years, I was a diehard fan of Clinique's Naturally Glossy. And I don't think they do it anymore. And it's sort of that length, but not clumpy.
Yeah.
Anyway, Ilia do it.
And
I
it's
love
clean as
Ilia
well.
in general. It's clean, exactly.
Yeah.
It's so
It's
nice.
It's one of
I
the
do.
first clean brands, actually.
I love
back
that
in the
makeup,
day.
actually.
Hodge, you're talking about an oven.
I know, Jesus. What's happened to me?
You always talk about culinary. No, good for you. I just can't cook.
No, of course
Well,
not.
this
That's
is a
fine.
cheat.
I haven't
Penny.
cooked since 08.
This will help
What do you mean?
She's Sex in the City.
Um,
You put those ballerina flats in the oven.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, you know all your
Don't
Sex and
turn
the City
it on. Don't
references.
turn it on.
Don't
All
worry.
right.
There's no risk.
Sorry, Hodge.
Zero risk of that.
Do you know the brand Our Place?
No.
You
Tell
don't
me
know
more.
it. How do you not know this?
Because we don't cook.
The chicest pots and pans.
Oh, gorge. Okay.
Yeah, but they've just come out with their version of an air fryer, and it's called a Wonder Oven, and it does 7 things, which is on the cards.
That is wildly impressive. That's more
Bake-
than I do in a kitchen.
Yeah.
7 things.
Damn. Bake, roast, grill, reheat, toast.
Oh, I love toast.
What, you could throw bread in there?
Yeah, and my husband is like really obsessed with the air fryer, which gives me the ick in a way. I don't know why. Don't know why. He talks about lots of different things he can do in the air fryer, and I'm like, no. This is the new
Men
thing.
are so easily
poor
entertained.
I know, but I don't know why. I don't
He's trying
like
to
it.
be
I'm like, don't
domestic.
talk to me about like
I'd love
be more
that.
Tom Hardy. I don't think Tom Hardy talks about
Never.
air fryers.
He's never talked about an air fryer.
I think
I
deep
guarantee
down
it.
Tom Hardy cooks at home.
Do you think?
Tom, if you're watching, because I'm sure you're an avid fan, you get a lot of airtime on this podcast. Can you just let us know if you cook? Because I reckon
Do you think?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's
First,
got an
my
air
book.
fryer.
Help James out. But this, it comes in like lots of like muted, lovely colours.
Okay.
I've got like the slate grey. It's just easier. It's like a little box.
yeah.
Can you give me an example of something you make in it?
You can roast a whole chicken.
Okay. I love the way a roasted chicken makes my house smell.
Yeah. If I feel like I've got my shit together.
So
when
what do you
there's a
put
chicken
in with the,
roasting.
no, do you put oil?
I still
and-
do
no,
like
it's air.
oil and a
Stop.
lemon and thyme
being
and garlic
laughed at.
in the chicken's bottom.
Oh, inside.
And then oil, salt and pepper
On it.
on it.
Yeah.
And then, yeah.
Maybe we can cook. That doesn't sound that
Right.
hard. I
So
feel like we could
easy.
do that.
You can bake a cake.
Well,
Honestly,
hold on.
guys.
Yeah. This is getting too advanced too
What,
fast.
in the cake tin?
You can get cake tins. Honestly.
This almost feels
Trust
like a
me.
3D printer for food.
Yeah.
You're like, and then a cake comes
Yeah.
out. Well, that was insightful. Yeah. You know the brand By Far? I always think of them
Yes.
for beautiful shoes, kind of flat-ish, chic.
Yeah.
I've got lots of their slingbacks. And they've done a beautiful handbag that is butter yellow.
Oh, that's like
Colour
the
of
color.
the season.
And same for interiors. I am obsessed. I've
Oh,
actually
that-
just designed the most beautiful bed quilt with
Oh,
butter
wow.
yellow. And they've done a suede. It is probably the least practical thing ever, as in you'll breathe on it and it will stain.
Yeah.
But it's gorgeous. Just spray it first. Butter yellow suede. Very long and sort of thin shape.
Like an
almost-
east to west.
Yes, sort of. Yes. And it's, anyway, that's gorgeous. So I'm into that. Okay, so now dilemmas. These are questions that people have written in. A lot of them are throwing friends under the bus this week. My friend is actively using Facetune on images of her, with us included. Sometimes she edits us, but it's mostly just her.
Whoa.
How do we bring this up with her? P.S. She's posting these on Instagram.
Oh my God.
Brilliant.
Can't you just say, hello, Facetune me too? Like, I want some of that.
Yeah.
Right?
It makes, you've got to do it. If you're going to do it,
I
you've
feel
got to
like
do it
they're
for
not
everyone.
loving
That's
the
it.
Facetune.
Oh, they
full
don't want
stop.
it at all.
I feel
Okay.
like, maybe too much, too heavy.
It's disingenuous to Facetune the shit out of your face and put up pictures. And I would go so far as to say it works against you, because then people meet you in person and they're like, wait, what?
Completely, I agree.
That never works out.
Yeah.
However, you can't like be mad at your friend for doing it if she wants to do it, right?
Yeah, I think it's sort of an indication that she needs, like, it's not
Okay,
great.
this is an indication of something deeper though, because
Yeah.
what kind of friend puts up a photo of you on Instagram without first being like, do you like this picture? Is this
Yeah.
okay? At which point you could be like, post the one just of you, don't include me.
Completely.
Or
I
something
do
like
feel
that.
you should, I always check my friends look hot.
Yeah, duh.
Yeah.
Very important.
Yeah.
You're Facetuning yourself, but not your friends. I don't know what's worse.
She sounds like a selfish person. I'm just going to say it.
I knew we would get.
Or she's short on time.
Maybe.
Right.
A close friend is constantly complaining about her partner, and I've seen some questionable messages on his socials.
Ew.
I'm torn. Do I say something and risk blowing up her world, or stay out of it completely? Questionable messages. That must be like
flirting.
public comments.
Yeah.
Because she's obviously not in his DMs.
That's always really hard, because you can really alienate a friend and you never know what goes on inside a relationship.
Oh,
and what's
and
okay
the
with
girl-
everyone, you know?
And the girl might know. Well, if she's complaining though.
I think unless you have proof that someone's other half is cheating, in which case you kind of do owe it to say something. I think you don't want
Stay
to
out of it.
meddle.
Do you go to the partner first though and say,
I'm telling her unless you do first.
It might depend on your relationship with the partner, because
Yeah.
sometimes you know them very well and other times not. I think that's
Yeah, that's
dependable.
context dependent.
yeah,
Oh my gosh, that is the hardest position to be in.
I know it is really hard. I feel like, would I want to know?
I do think it's very tricky to be in a position where you know something that your friend might be okay with.
I think you sort of maybe have a gentle conversation with your friend and be like, honey, like, do you think anything else is going on? Like, if you've spoken to him,
Right.
like, I'd sort of drop
Suss
the
it
hint
out a
with
little
her
bit.
and let her work it out.
Or you could say, when she's complaining, you could be like, okay, you're complaining, you open this door. Do you want my genuine feedback and my vibes?
That's fair.
Or do you want me to just be an ear to listen?
Yeah.
Okay, last one. I've been invited on a child-free weekend away with my partner, but I feel racked with guilt about leaving our toddler with grandparents. I know we need time as a couple, but am I being selfish?
No.
Well, you're not being selfish. No, you're being thoughtful to everyone and selfless. And as a woman, you're never selfish. I think that could be really fun for the grandparents, though. So it's kind of like you're giving them a gift of getting to spend time
agree.
with their toddler
agree.
by themselves.
They bond. It is very cute.
It's
time
so
on their own.
cute.
When the parents aren't there, it's a different dynamic.
Oh,
Completely,
yeah. No, she needs to do it. She needs to give the grandparents time with the kid, and she needs to go away with her partner and take advantage of the opportunity to bond with him.
And also, I remember at first when we're lucky enough to have 3 grandparents who are all very involved, and I'd be like, so they need to eat that, and this is that. And then now we're like, just
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
go
just
for it,
return them
because
alive.
The memories that, the kids will have some little game they only play with granny, and there's a midnight feast with the other granny, and I just think
I used to do midnight
Yeah.
snack too with
Those
my
are the
grandma,
things
and it was
that-
always Oreos, and I love Oreos.
and
Yeah.
that's what you remember,
Yeah.
right? So I don't want to control that
No.
anymore. I'm like, do you know what? If they have way too much sugar, that's fine, because
Yeah.
you're putting them to bed.
Yeah, exactly.
Good luck to
yeah,
you.
But
you'll
I think
regret that, but okay.
it's incredibly restorative for you to have time with your other half and do not feel bad about it. Try not to talk about them loads at dinner, although I feel like that advice is always bestowed upon people. If you want to talk about them at dinner, then do.
Yeah.
Up to you. Whatever
I like
makes you
at the
happy.
end of the
yeah.
day, my husband and I say one thing. We call it cherish. We say like one thing that was cute about each of our kids that day. Oh, it's a really like as we're like falling asleep. It's really cute.
That's so nice.
And then we don't have to like sit there and like talk about every single detail.
Yeah.
We can
That
just
is
say,
adorable.
our-
I love that. We
those
do
kids.
like icebreakers on the weekends with the kids. So we'll sit down to like one lunch when it's just the 5 of us, and we go around the table and we say some something good and something bad that happened this week.
That's important because I think
Yeah.
it teaches kids how to have like adult conversation
Yeah.
and how to be. I mean, there's nothing worse than when you get to like a dinner party and you're seated next to someone who doesn't know how to make polite conversation and you're, tap dancing to try and keep them entertained.
Yeah.
That's a good way to teach kids to like ask a question, answer a question.
Yeah, exactly.
Life skills.
That happens more than you'd hope
How
as
do you
an adult,
become the
doesn't it?
person who is the entertainer, though?
How do you become
like
them?
why? When you sit down, like what is the power play that you are the entertainer and you're entertaining that person? Like I don't
interesting, isn't it?
understand. Like, are we just people pleasers that we're like?
I think it's
Yes.
in your character.
Yeah.
And you'll 9 out of 10 be that person unless you happen to be in a horrifically bad mood and
Yeah.
can't be bothered that night, or vice versa. You're feeling extra
Yeah.
enthusiastic. But it is fascinating how many people,
And
often
don't
guys,
ask a question.
Always.
and you leave and you think, I know everything about you in your
Everything.
life.
You did not ask one thing
know
about me.
nothing.
Men don't ask questions.
I
That's
once-
a big generalization, but a lot of them don't.
It's totally true. I one time was sitting next to this guy at dinner and he was giving me nothing. And I was like, okay, so what did it, asking a million questions. And he turned to me after like 30 minutes and he goes, you sure ask a lot of questions. And I was like, because you are as boring as watching paint dry and I'm trying to save myself. What am I supposed to do? I know.
What a dick.
I know, what a
Totally.
dick.
So yeah, you can't have kids that grow up to be that
Yeah.
kind of
No,
person. You got to
chatty.
ask them questions at lunch.
Yeah, it's a good life skill.
And kiddos need longer to process. Oh, that happened today and it was good.
Yeah.
That's why it all comes out at bedtime.
Yeah.
When their brains finally relax and they suddenly, that happened last
It's
night.
the cutest thing.
And
I
I
love
feel
that.
also it's nice for their siblings to advise them. So like Coco will be, like my 8-year-old will be complaining about something that happened at school, or like, she's had a row with her best friend. And like my 11-year-old daughter will say, that happened to me and this is what happened and it was fine the next day. Coco needs it from Ava, not me.
Of
because
course.
Ava is living that life, whereas I'm not living that life. So it's so nice for siblings to educate each other.
That is lovely, actually.
Yeah.
It's adorable.
Yeah, we've got that to come.
Oh, yeah.
Because your little one's very little, right?
She's 1, yeah.
Okay.
She doesn't have problems with her best friends at school yet.
No, I know. And he is coming.
Yeah,
Bloody
of
hell,
course.
girl.
Oh, that was all round. I don't think we left a stone unturned.
No.
That was amazing. Thank you so
Wait,
much.
are we done? That's it?
Yes.
What?
We
How
nailed
fun.
it. That wraps up today's amazing episode.
Yeah.
Thanks for
Thank you
having
for coming
me.
in.
Thank you, thank you.
Epic. Thanks, guys, for joining us. We'll see you next week. Don't forget again to subscribe and spread the word to your friends. Bye for now.